Welcome back, everyone. This is part 2 out of 3 of my Dead Space Challenge series. In this video, I'm going to be taking on 4 more chapters on Impossible mode without upgrades and just the plasma cutter. Also, I wanted to say thank you for the positive feedback and support I received from my last video. I was really shocked to see that video do so well, so thank you. Alright, with that out of the way, let's continue this challenge, shall we? Chapter 5, Lethal Devotion. After surviving a turret section, I stopped at the store to sell any valuables and restocked on some much needed supplies. After that, it was time to head to medical, and there were a few enemies to fight along the way, but it was nothing I couldn't handle. When I finally reached medical, the game hit me with one of the most annoying enemies in the game, the Guardian. The problem with the Guardian is, if I'm not fast enough, he'll spawn so many pods that approaching any area he's guarding would be suicide. How am I even alive? Focusing on the pods themselves would burn through what little resources I have left. And while I was low on ammo, I had no choice but to tank the pods and just focus on the Guardian himself. After taking care of the Guardian, I finished off any remaining pods and pressed on through the ship, destroying any obstacles in my way. And then I reached probably one of the best reveals in recent memories, Dr. Mercer and his hunter. The best way to deal with the hunter is to stasis him and just follow up with a foot stomp, so that way you break his legs off and you can slow him down. But the hunter and other necromorphs together, now that is another cocktail of problems to deal with. Still low on ammo and cash, I had no choice but to use my ultimate tactic of running like hell. I finally reached Mercer's office, witnessing one of the most hilarious ragdoll effects.
Save us!
Toxic hazard detected.
Now it was time to deal with the gas. With death's breath at my neck, I needed to make sure to avoid the hunter and the other necromorphs while heading back to shut off the gas. And thanks to how thick the gas fumes are, it's very easy to get lost here if you're not careful. I finally reached the controls to turn off the gas.
Toxic hazard cleared. Okay, it's clearing.
Now, it was time to deal with the hunter. And this takes so much skill that you will need to pay very close attention to this video. I mean it, I'm serious.
I'd say you've chosen your side.
Just bait him into the cryo chamber, stasis him, break his legs, stasis him again, and then send him on his way.
Initiating cryogenic freeze.
Yeah, that's it. Super difficult, right? I know. I'm pretty sure you're impressed. And well, after that impressive display, I was rewarded with an achievement for completing Chapter 5. Chapter 6, Environmental Hazard. Before heading to the hydroponics, I stopped at the store to restock on some much needed ammunition. I didn't want to risk having another repeat like in the last chapter. Whenever I was finished, I pressed on through the ship, and I was shocked that I didn't have to kill any Weezers to fight them.
No. Go back. There's no way into food storage. We need to inject it into the Leviathan. Bind the Weezers.
Well, I guess it's time to go kill some Weezers. Man, hydroponics is looking pretty amazing right now. But no time to sightsee. There's an ambush. I didn't want to use any ammo here, so I just relied on using my telekinesis. I injected the first Weezer, and it wasn't long until I found the second one. Now, there was a new enemy to worry about, the Exploders. Now, these guys aren't much of a threat as long as you don't let them sneak up on you. And cutting off their explosives gives you a chance to use it against enemies too. Now, the third Weezer was a bit of a pain because it was a Guardian, well, guarding the Weezer. And this situation looked pretty bad. With low visibility and pods being spewed out every second, I held my breath and just went for the Weezer, banking on the idea I wouldn't get hurt while in this animation. And luckily, the Guardian was far enough away to not insta-kill me. Now, it was time to hunt for the rest of the Weezers. Weezer 4 was easy to find. Continuing on, I found the next one hanging out at the top floor in this room. Honestly, this chapter wasn't so bad. Aside from getting lost while searching for the 7th Weezer, I probably floated for 30 minutes trying to find this stupid thing. And this text right here still haunts me in my dreams. In frustration, I decided to explore a bit more. I could tell I was heading in the right direction, because it didn't take long until I got grabbed by a tentacle again. After surviving the ambush, I continued down the path and avoided being cooked to death. Finally found Weezer 7. Now it was time to find Weezer 8. Geez, how many of these things are there? Luckily I didn't have a problem finding the last one, since all you had to do was continue down the pathway to reach it. And now, it was finally time to take on the Leviathan. Man, I did not expect this fight to be this different, but it's definitely a welcoming one. Now, this fight wasn't too difficult, as I kept strafing left and right to avoid his tentacles. And after I destroyed his tentacles, he would then start shooting projectiles at me. And just like the brute, I would use these to my advantage. After a while, they'll fill the room with toxic fumes. 1 minute left. I needed to end this here and now before I suffocated to death. And after a few explosives to the face, I dealt the final blow. After that, I was rewarded with an achievement. And not too long, I was rewarded with another one for completing Chapter 6. Chapter 7, Into the Void. It was time to head for the mining decks, and not too long, I would be ambushed at the elevator.
He's in the wall. He's in the goddamn wall!
Dark and claustrophobic, I only had my plasma cutter and my stasis to be thankful for, helping me survive this part. Once all the enemies were dispatched, I continued down the dark corridors and avoiding any traps along the way. And once again, here's proof that I still haven't had any upgrades. Honestly, this chapter isn't too bad until you reach that slow-ass gondola ride. I needed to take out every enemy that I see before they could get a shot off. And thanks to the original Dead Space, I knew what was coming up next. So I decided to stock up on some propane tanks before reaching the end of the gondola ride. And now, it was time to defend Nicole. I really didn't expect this part to be so short, but maybe it's because of the propane tanks. But hey, I'll take it. I tried to give something to Nicole so she could defend herself, but she walked away without saying a word. Now that I acquired the beacon, it was time to head back to the asteroid.
Warning, power failure.
Another ambush, of course. This was not a good time for a fight, only because I was out of stasis packs. And these guys pretty much caught me with my pants down. Luckily, I stocked up on plenty of health packs to tank the hits, and used any fallen necromorph parts I could get my hands on. With the last enemy finished off, power was finally restored back to the elevator.
Power restored.
And I continued on my way. I finally made it to the asteroid room. Now here, I needed to destroy 4 tethers, So after 1, 2, 3, 4, now it was time to plant the beacon and release the asteroid.
Hazardous anomaly detected.
The hunter reappeared, and this time there was nowhere to run. While Daniels was taking her sweet time to open the door, I was down to my last stasis. Fortunately, I had to use it, and thanks to that, I managed to buy some time to hit the manual release, and then I quickly made my way to the door, only to be blue-balled by Daniels.
Damn it! Try the door now!
Once she finally unlocked the door, I got the hell out of there, avoiding any necromorphs and the hunter. And then when I reached the elevator, I was safe.
I think it's gone, but I can't be sure. The system's bugged out again.
I made it back to the tram station, and I got an achievement for beating Chapter 7. Chapter 8, Search and Rescue. While I waited on the tram, I decided it would be a good idea to take inventory to
Error. Power routing malfunction. Please stand by.
They wouldn't dare. Would they? I thought these were loading screens. You can't attack me in a loading screen. I'm invincible. That's gaming rules. Okay. I decided to check my inventory to see what supplies I needed. After that, I continued to the bridge. Another lockdown on the bridge. This one wasn't too bad though. Thanks to how large the room was, I decided to use that size to my advantage. Also, there were plenty of explosives I could use to throw at enemies. After surviving the lockdown, I continued through the ship until I encountered 2 guardians guarding the door. After dispatching the guardians, I made my way to the communication control room to fix the antenna. Now I didn't have enough ammo to fight the enemies in here, so I decided to ignore them and focus on fixing the antenna. God, I hate this room. Luckily, I persevered, and I tried to make contact with the Valor. Now it was time to head for the boss. I ignored the divider and made a break for the elevator. But to my surprise, there was a necromorph waiting for me on the other side of the door. Now, whose evil plan was this?
You know,
EA.
your evil is almost a match for my own. Together we'll make life miserable for those.
Dead Space players.
Why, it'll be just like the old days.
Yes, just like the old days.
I made my way outside the ship to fight the Leviathan, with once again, the new and improved ADS turret. I used the turrets to blast through his armor plating and avoided any tentacles that came my way. Eventually, he'll get pissed off and destroy the turret. And now, I would have to go look for another one. And like a noob, I failed to pay attention to my oxygen levels. I was quickly running out of air, and I needed to find an oxygen station fast. Time was running out. I destroyed the core, and I made it to the oxygen tank with less than a second. But one less problem to worry about, it was time to put all my focus into the Leviathan. Destroying his second core, it was time to head for the final one on the other side. I needed to be careful to avoid the mines. I made it to the final turret, and I finished it off with my plasma cutter.
Is it dead?
Dead and gone.
And hopefully, we will not be seeing him ever again. Unless there's like a Dead Space remake. I mean, I'll take whatever Dead Space content I could get. Just give me some more Dead Space, please. I headed back to activate the antenna, and I made my way to the Valor. And as soon as I reached the door, I was rewarded with another achievement. And with that, part 2 is over. If you made it this far into the video, I would, once again, like to say thank you for your support. And I am super curious and excited to see how far this channel will go. So thank you. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, this is Lazarus, signing off.
Ladies and gentlemen,